Robert and Ben were very unhappy about having to go to the Kingdom Hall, so their father had to figure out a way to bribe them to go. So he bought them a brand new motorcycle. When I noticed the boys were missing, I could see that John was standing in the background in the field, just standing there, looking around. And I wondered how come he was just standing there, because obviously the boys weren't there. And then he came up to me and said, well, the car is gone. He was coming out, and he had a really strange expression on his face. He must have been in shock. And Lisa noticed later on that he was crying, but he had no tears. And so I asked him, well, what happened and where's the boys? And he said that they killed themselves and that the gun was there. And, well, Ronald found something very interesting in there, where it said, why live by Bible standards? And Ben had his name put up there. And then another map of what looked like the trail that said end. The watchtower is a real messenger of death. Death is hidden in a lot of their subliminals, and that is the main thing they talk about. And if a person dies before this great battle of Armageddon, he's guaranteed to live in paradise. Only Jehovah's Witness. That's the only way you can get in there, is you have to be a Jehovah's Witness, because everybody else is of Satan the devil. There was terrible pictures in there. Blood up to the horses' necks, and then a great big description about how the earth would be cleaned up of all these ungodly people.
I don't know, something must have got them the wrong way. It's just hard to really believe two young boys could just go out and do something like that, unless there was something really heavily pushing them.
And the instinctive thing that comes to mind is who killed them, which is amazing because there didn't appear to be any usable prints on the gun. Yet you have two boys that are laying there dead that, killed themselves. Why wouldn't there be usable prints on the gun, unless they were wiped off?
But I do remember him being upset about it and said the gun was way too far away for it to have been suicide.
Yeah.
So that's about all I know.
And he was one of the first on the scene?
Apparently, yes.
You've got parents at odds with each other. You've got a religion that you go and study that talks about the end of the world, and that death is a place to be saved.
Are they on duty tonight?
No, I can take down your name and number and
sure.
Get a hold of you.
I'm embarrassed for that police department.
And they heard of a shooting. It was supposed to be a suicide, but nobody believed it. And they couldn't believe that even a short time afterwards, they just closed the case. I mean, everybody had like a million questions, but nobody wanted to answer them.
I don't know. I wonder if they want to leave the heat to the new sheriff.
And I think they were kind of in shock. They're not trained for this type of a situation. They're called out there to a situation where there's two dead bodies. The parents are asked some basic questions, and then they're left alone. At the end of the day, 10, 12 hours, they finally show up and say, well, maybe we ought to check and get some final statements from the parents, and then they decide, well, maybe we better check for gunpowder. Well, by that time, they've changed shirts. John had plenty of time, the father, to clean up, wash any residue off, the whole works. There's so many details that were overlooked, not done at all, not checked out, not followed up, interviews with families that didn't follow up. I mean, for Christ's sake, there's two dead kids here. We really need to ask some serious questions. If not now, or when? Ever?
Is there a number where I could get a hold of them?
Right here.
Is that right? Yeah, okay.
One was supposed to have shot the other one, then shot himself, then throw the gun out the car. Now, I don't know that much about guns, but usually when there's a gun going off, you're in shock. If you shoot your brother or somebody else, you're in shock. Then you don't shoot yourself, and then you don't have time to throw the gun outside the car.
After you're dead.
After you're dead.
That type of mentality is driving these boys. Did they commit suicide on their own, realistically? Or were they driven to it by the philosophies and religion that they were taught at church? Or was that religion taken, even a step further and was aided by the Father? Or a combination? So, from a legal question, I'd look at it and say, who who's really the fault here? You know, is this a liability issue against the church?